Hello, all benders and non-benders, and welcome back to Avatar Generations. And today, we are going to be going over the second Team Azula member that has just been released, MAI. Of course, everybody, if you've seen Avatar The Last Airbender, we all know about the fan-favorite character, MAI, the very low-key knife-wielding assassin who works with Team Azula and Ty Lee. So, what we have in the game here is she is, of course, a special element and a chaos character, which was an interesting pick. I actually thought they were going to make her an offense character personally, but they just went ahead and put her all the way to chaos. So, hey, at this rate, we're going to have more peace chaos characters than we will regular characters at this point, so I don't even know. Funny story with MAI is that she was actually spoiled a little bit before Team Azula was officially released. Not even by like a leak or a data mine or anything. She just showed up in Peace Iroh's Master Level 4 mission. Don't know how that one happened, but hey, whatever. So, we're going to talk about this character. First is her basic Swift Stilettos. Deals 4 hits of slicing damage to one enemy. Slicing damage has a 50% chance to inflict bleed on the enemy for 2 turns, preventing them from healing. We have seen this on Key Walk before. Damage dealt increases by 100% if the target is in a positive stance or state at the start of the caster's turn. Damage dealt increases based on the target's max HP. So basically, if they're in some kind of positive stance, like the Warden's Mocking stance or something like that, this will basically do double damage, and it scales on the enemy's max HP, meaning this can be a very nice tank buster. Her advance here, Cynical Sigh, deals 2 hits of shearing damage to one enemy. This transforms one buff into a rank 2 special element if the target has a buff active, ignoring resistance. Inflicts the captured state on the enemy for 2 turns. Enters a dreary state for 1 turn, and damage dealt increases based on the target's max HP, and this attack cannot miss. So, to break this down a little bit. First of all, if they have a buff, you can inflict a rank 2 special element, yet another effect to block healing. Captured state is an interesting one because captured state we've seen on a couple characters before, Bo Quinn and Zhao specifically. And I've never been too crazy on captured state. But in the current meta, where characters can go absolutely nuts with their advanced abilities and with other states that they have, captured state on MAI actually functions shockingly well. And then she herself will enter a dreary state where she will reduce the damage taken by Team Azula allies by 50%, just a flat 50. Enemies cannot enter into a positive state. This means that characters like the Warden can't go into Mocking stance, characters like Bo Quinn or good old Pirate Man can't go into their stances while she's in this dreary state. It can really just full-blown shut some characters all the way down. And then this attack cannot miss, which I believe means it can bypass things like Skill Nullifier. Now, her passive Victory is boring. Enemies take additional penetrating damage when they heal if a debuff or negative effect is present up to 4 times per turn. Caster takes only weak hits for 1 turn if there are debuffs active on any enemy at the start of their turn. Now, this one makes MAI a surprisingly effective both heal preventer and a tank, actually. So first of all, the first half, enemies take additional penetrating damage when they heal, as long as they have a debuff or negative state. That basically means if their ally heals them or they get healing from like lifesteal or something, this effect will do damage. Basically, effectively mitigating the healing they're doing, or at least making it not nearly as helpful as it would have been. Just a nice little effect there. But then, what really makes her interesting, the caster only takes weak hits for 1 turn if there are debuffs active on any enemy at the start of their turn, with the effect duration going up to 2 turns if you're at level 3. What this basically means is she will take less damage and have a much lower chance of being debuffed while this passive is active. It makes her surprisingly tanky, especially if she has the Black Bouquet relic. She actually holds up, even against the strongest characters like Ronin Zuko. She can be surprisingly bulky, even if you're not invested in bulk. And now, we have her skill mastery on her passive. Mastery level 2 here, decrease the turn bar of the enemy by 5% whenever they gain a turn bar increase. Very similar concept to what we were talking about here with the damage. Whenever they get a turn bar increase, they will also get a turn bar decrease. Let's say they get a 10% increase, this is going to bring that down to a 5%. If they get a 5% increase, then it's basically going to just wipe it out. And if they get a less than 5%, they're actually going to lose turn bar. Very nice little effect there. Mastery level 3, increase damage of the caster by 15% every time Cynical Sai skill is used, up to 5 times. So whenever this one is used, she just gets a flat damage buff for the rest of the battle, and that can stack up in a hurry. And then Mastery level 4, big team support skill here. Increase defense and max HP of Team Azula faction allies by 50% for the first 3 turns of battle. So basically, for the first 3 turns, Team Azula is going to be crazy bulky. They're just even more so than they are already, because they can actually hold up pretty decent. They just get dramatically more stats to make sure they're surviving those first few turns, and Azula especially is getting out her damage. So this character can do some pretty wild stuff, especially at high skill level. Of course, your breakpoints here, you do get the effect duration +1 on the weak hit, only getting weak hits at level 3, and then at Cynical Sai here, you do get the longer duration on the captured state. I'm not sure about the Yuri state at level 5. So that is something to keep in mind there. And of course, with all the damage buffs, she can do some pain in a hurry if you do give her some skill coins. Now, let's talk about how to actually build her. Me, I've just gone whole hog on speed. You're going to notice I say that a lot with Team Azula. Lots and lots of speed. I want these characters to be fast. I want them to go first and demolish the enemy before they even get a chance to strike. So to that end, I have given her a nice little 4 set of speed, and we also have just some immunity stuff here, more so for the convenience of having these parts than actual strategy. I would love to replace these with something else, but it's just kind of what I have, and especially with this particular map, I like having the attack buff. You also do want to make sure you give her a decent bit of accuracy, mostly because of her Cynical Sai. You do want to try and inflict that capture state. I don't have a huge amount of accuracy on her, so sometimes it gets a little shaken off. You can kind of mitigate that with relics, but I would recommend trying to build her at least a little bit more than what I have here with accuracy. Additionally, anything like attack, crit damage, things like that, just to make sure she is dishing out some pain. If you've got some good arts of that, that can absolutely work. Now, her supports. It's an interesting thing with both her and Ty Lee. You're going to hear me say this for both of them probably. Is there really not the priority for supports? The priority is Azula. You want to make sure that Azula is going as nuts as possible in your team, which is surprisingly on brand now that I think about it. I mean, just prioritizing Azula over the other two is surprisingly on brand. That said, for your team, the best undisputed one is the Mongoose Dragon. Reason for that is that gives you a nice chunky speed boost to the entire Team Azula faction. If you don't have this, you're probably going to end up using the Messenger Hawk to crank up Azula specifically. Mei and Ty Lee, you're going to get a little bit left in the dust on that one because you just want Azula to be cooking as fast as possible. But with that said, there is of course the Inagi, which is an option if you do have some Inagis, if you were lucky enough to get him. And of course, plenty of Fire Nation supports here. The Komodo Rhino specifically does work with Azula, Mei, and Ty Lee because it actually affects Fire Nation characters, not necessarily Firebenders, and gives a nice healthy crit damage boost. So you would lose that on the speed, but you could get a nice little damage boost. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. The Mongoose Dragon here is a premium option. Komodo Rhino is dramatically more practical. Now, her relics, on the other hand, she's got a lot of options. First of all, of course, I want to bring it up right now. The current, probably best free-to-play option is going to be the Pursuit of Perfection, usable on any Team Azula character. What this will do: increase the attack and accuracy, remember I mentioned accuracy earlier, of all Team Azula allies by 30%, and steal 35% focus whenever the caster defeats an enemy. So first of all, stat boost. You want to have at least one of your Team Azula characters with this relic, if at all possible, because that's just a healthy stat boost right there. And then getting a lot of focus when defeating an enemy. Mei is pretty dang good at catching some kills every now and then. Her Cynical Sigh especially is quite high damage, and unless she's hitting just a really high defense character, she can put some fools down. So that would grant you a very nice focus boost, allowing you to use more combos, probably using Azula so you can get some turn bar. What I have her running with, though, is actually her 4-star option from the Summer Festival, the Beach Umbrella. Even post-nerf, this thing is quite effective. Increase turn bar and increase attack stat of all allies by 15% for 2 turns when any character on the field is defeated, excluding the caster. So basically, what happens here is whenever anybody dies on the field, your allies, excluding whoever's using this, or any of the enemies, the whole team gets 15% turn bar and an attack boost for 2 turns. This can go really crazy because this means that it doesn't have to be Mei getting the kill. If it is Azula or Ty Lee, this is still going to give a very healthy boost to the entire team. I cannot overstate how wonderful Beach Umbrella is. Even post nerf, it is a fantastic free-to-play option. Some other options here, of course. Probably the most free-to-play friendly option is going to be the Fire Paper Dragon here, mostly because it just grants some extra focus, which then you can use to use combos on Azula. Premium options. Her number 1 premium option is going to be the Black Bouquet. What this one will do is it will cap the damage of each attack received to no more than 44% of the caster's max HP. That's what it basically is doing when you have 2 copies. I believe at maximum copies, I think it's 28%, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong about that. This effect only happens once per turn. At each HP threshold it triggers at. This effect is only active for the first 5 turns of battle. This basically makes whoever is using it even bulkier, meaning that whenever an enemy attacks you, let's say you get hit by Moonslayer Zhao, he ignores your defense and damage reductions. He ignores his defense. He doesn't do anything with damage reduction. This will cap him at a point so that he can't. It's basically the anti-one-shot relic. That's exactly what this is, especially if you do have it at high tiers. It basically guarantees that you're going to take some punches and not even care. This is, of course, a pretty high premium option, though. For a slightly more, it's still pretty premium, but not quite as bad because it's a 4-star. The MAI. This will decrease turn bar of all enemies by 7% for each debuff on the enemy when the caster attacks. Basically, if whoever she's attacking has debuffs, she can inflict a very healthy turn bar decrease to the entire enemy team. Not bad at all. And then for a free-to-play option that you can farm up right now, there is, of course, the Sheer Shoe Darts. I am personally a fan of this one because I just like the restrict effect. 60% chance to inflict restrict on up to 2 enemies for 1 turn, ignoring resistance. if the enemy has a debuff when the caster attacks on their turn. And just a reminder that Restrict decreases the defense and the resistance of the enemy by a nice healthy 65%, which can really allow the rest of your team to go crazy. This is a nice budget Chaos Relic. Not a bad pick at all. You can actually get this in the timeline shop right now. But that is MAI. She is a fantastic character that can go absolutely crazy in a Team Azula faction team. The one thing I am going to caution though is that, as I've said before, Team Azula is highly premium. To get Team Azula running at full tilt, you're going to want some skill levels, and you're going to want to try and have all 3 characters if possible. Thankfully, we do actually have quite a few relics available to us right this moment that are actually pretty decent, and thank goodness for that, because actually getting the characters themselves, not easy at all. But that is all we have for today. Hope this guide helped you out. Like the video and subscribe if you have not already. Certainly helps me out, and we shall see you next time. Have a good one.